I'm never going to have the chance to tell her that I love her, the chance to hug her, kiss her, hold her hand. I will never feel her touch, hear her voice. I find myself wanting to call her, talk to her, after I've had a bad day at work or when I'm having relationship problems. I want to know when the next time I'll see her is, but then I remember that I can't. Sometimes I even go as far as holding down speed dial to call her. She's still saved in my phone. Her picture pops up and I have to end the call. I know that someone else has her number now. I know she won't be on the other end. I used to call her every day for at least a month, just so I could hear her voice again, or her voicemail recording, until one day I heard something else. It was a recording saying the number was no longer in service. Being stubborn and not wanting to let go quite yet, I would call every now and then just to make sure. One day, it rang. I hung up immediately because I knew it wasn't going to be her on the other side. I didn't want to be disappointed. I remember waking up Saturday morning to over 10 missed calls from my sister and aunts who unfortunately weren't able to make it today. I called my sister immediately and asked, "What's wrong?" Mom was in an accident. My heart stopped for a second and I didn't know what to do. I left my student apartment in Orlando and immediately got on the road. She was in the hospital for a few days. I went into her room twice. I wish I could erase the memory of her in that room, in that state, but I can't. I tried to hold her hand at first, but her arms started flailing helplessly. I just stood there, staring at her. I didn't understand what was happening. After a couple of minutes, her body settled and I was able to hold her hand. I tried to talk to her, tell her to keep fighting, let her know how much we love her and how much we all wanted her to pull through. After the doctors had performed a few surgeries and tests, they said it would be a long process and a long recovery. We were at a standstill now. All we could do was wait it out. I started making plans to spend Thanksgiving with her, regardless of where she would be, at home or in a hospital bed. Not even a day later, she was gone. I'll never forgive myself for leaving the hospital that night. But I was in my last year of college, just a few months before graduation, and I had just started an internship. I had a responsibility to my work and my school, and the doctors made it seem like there was really nothing else we could do anyway. So I figured I would come back in a couple days to spend the weekend with her. The next morning I had gone into work. I needed a break from the ICU waiting room, from being worried. Not even an hour into the day I get a phone call. "Sweetheart, your mother's heart stopped. They're trying to revive her now." I practically fell into the arms of my office manager. I left right away. I sat in my car for a minute, trying to calm myself down because I was in no condition to drive 5 minutes, let alone the hour and a half it took to get to the hospital. I kept saying out loud as if she could hear me, "Hold on, Mommy. I'll be there soon. Keep fighting. Keep fighting. I love you. Stay strong." When I got to the hospital, I had no idea what was going on. "She was a beautiful woman," he said. "What do you mean? How is she?" "Oh, honey, she didn't make it." I dropped down to the ground screaming. I didn't want to believe it. I still don't. Being the oldest, I had a lot of responsibilities. I needed to sign paperwork, gather information, start preparing funeral arrangements. I never really had the opportunity to just deal with it. Her funeral was 4 days later, on my 23rd birthday. I stood in front of our family and all of my mother's friends, so many in fact, that there weren't even enough seats in the chapel to hold everyone. We celebrated her life. It was the most beautiful ceremony for the most beautiful person. There isn't a day that goes by that I don't think of her, wishing she were here. She missed my graduation, although I'm positive she was watching from the best seat in the house. So many classmates, colleagues, friends, professors even. They all told me to withdraw from my classes and retake them the next semester, but that wasn't an option for me. I knew my mother wouldn't have wanted that either. It was hard, really hard. I struggled with the material after being absent for 2 weeks, but I kept trying. I started seeing a therapist at school. I didn't feel like I could talk to anyone else. My friends offered their condolences, but they had no idea what I was going through. How could they help me? My family was there, yes, but they were also dealing with everything. I didn't want to be a bother. Besides, no words, no actions, not a million I'm sorries will ever be enough. Nothing will bring my mother back. Over the course of maybe a few months, I continued to see my therapist. I told him that I sometimes wrote to her, like a journal, like letters, as if she were reading them. He asked me if I was planning to write to her every day. I told him that I wanted to because the days I didn't, I felt guilty, as if I forgot about her. He told me to start keeping track of the times I would cry, write down what triggered it, and the severity of my feelings in those moments. Common triggers were songs that reminded me of her, pictures, thinking about big moments that she'll never get to be a part of. She missed my college graduation. She's going to miss my sister's graduation, and brothers, too. She's going to miss my wedding, the birth of my children, their children. I think about that all the time, how happy she would have been to be a part of those moments, and how much we all would have loved for her to be there with us. There's no replacing that. All of these memories with my mom, I'll never have. My memories with her have stopped growing. In everything that's happened, I realized that happiness is temporary. The only thing that I know for certain is that my mom is gone. I can go to therapy every day for the rest of my life, surround myself with friends and family, travel the world, be successful in everything I do, but at the end of the day, she's still gone. I don't have her to share any of it with. Nothing will ever fill the void, the emptiness in my heart, in my life. I ask myself all the time, what could I have done to prevent this? Whether it had been something 2 hours before, 2 weeks before, 2 years. I live with those questions every day. And I can only imagine the questions that my younger brother and sister have. They're the ones I'm most scared for. The three of us are close, but we don't talk about it at all. Unless one of us has reached a breaking point and just can't keep it in any longer. I think it just hurts too much. Not only that, but also the fact that we just haven't been able to even accept what's happened. With all the paperwork and legalities, and with how long the process has been dragging on, it's mentally and physically exhausting for all of us. We haven't even been able to feel any sense of closure. I just want the chance to remember my mother, for the great times we had together, for the silly jokes she would tell my little cousins at Christmas. The breaking an egg on top of their heads joke was always a hit with them. It breaks my heart when my 10-year-old cousin says to me, "I wish I had died instead of Auntie Noy." And when my 9 and 6-year-old cousins tell me how much they miss her when the whole family gets together, I miss her too, more than words can describe, more than anyone could ever try to understand. I don't want to think about what happened anymore. It brings too many questions, too much pain, too many emotions to even know what they are. I want my mom here with me, but I know that will never happen.